it up so I can record and everything. So, haha. Mr. Compton. Okay. So chapter 9 is so easy, by the way. It's going to be a harder grade for you. Meaning, I'm going to hand, when I get done with these notes, I'm going to hand Valeria a worksheet. It's not just going to be a, Valeria did her worksheet. Good job, points for Valeria kind of day. It's going to be like, did Valeria do it correctly? That's how Valeria's going to get all her points on this chapter, because it is that easy. Okay, what does the word product mean? Okay, so we need to multiply 4x minus 3 times 2x plus 1. What do I actually do from here? I do, but what is that called? There's an acronym for it. It's FOIL. First, outer, inner, last. So first would be 4x times 2x. What do you get when you multiply 4x times 2x? 8x squared. Okay, outer would be 4x times positive 1. So what do I get? 4x. Positive 4x. Inner would be negative 3 times 2x. So what do I get? Negative 6x. And then last, negative 3 times 1, and I get negative 6. Okay, but I'm not done, because I can combine some like terms. So what is my final answer? I can combine some like terms. 8x squared minus 2x minus 3. Thank you. So you combine the 4x and the negative 6x. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Perfect. That is my final answer. This is what they're wanting. Now, if you're thinking ahead, what I think would actually happen on the Aspire is not a question this easy. If you're looking at Wednesday, the second question, where they tell you the area of a rectangle, that's what I actually anticipate. I think they would give you a picture of a rectangle. They would say one side is 4x minus 3. They would say another side is 2x plus 1. And then they would ask for the area. Now, area is base times height, so we're still going to go through the same math, but there's an extra step where Sawyer has to think through what shape is this, what is the formula for that. There's an extra step added in, and that's what the kind of question they would ask you on the S5. Okay, so we're having a little trouble factoring this morning. If the leading coefficient is 1, which it is, we want two things that add to give us a negative 6 and multiply to give us an 8. So are there two numbers that meet that criteria? Well, I'm with you in that 4 times 2 is 8, but how do I figure out
negative or negative?
Why do they both have to be negative?
Because the negative times negative is positive.
Because the negative times the negative is positive. Yeah, negative 4, negative 2, and 8 is negative 6. That's perfect. Okay, so since I'm using a negative 4, my one factor is x minus 4. Since I'm using a negative 2, my other factor is x minus 2. Are there any questions about that one? Does someone already know the factors for the second example?
8 and negative 6.
Whoa, she's on her factoring today. Okay, this one was a little harder, because with 8, I mean, you're either doing 1 times 8 or 2 times 4. That's all your options. 48 has a couple more things to think about. Danny's right. We would pick 6 and 8 because they're only 2 apart. So 8 times negative 6 gives me a negative 48. Meanwhile, 8 minus 6 is positive 2. So since I chose a positive 8, one factor is x plus 8. Since I chose a negative 6, my other factor is x minus 6. Are there any questions about this? And because you are so smart, even though your brain has been on spring break, I would remind you that what's going to happen next is they're going to ask for the answers. So be very careful. You're going to see 8, negative 6 as an answer choice. But when you set each of these factors equal to 0, it ends up being the opposite sign. It ends up being negative 8 and positive 6, because we would actually do x plus 8 equals 0 and get x equals negative 8. We would actually do x minus 6 equals 0 and get x equals positive 6. So just be very careful. I'm thinking through, I did that fast. I'm thinking through what's going to happen next week to you, my sophomores. Okay, are there any questions on my fast bell ringers this morning? Great. Then we need to go on to our notes. So, where do you see your reflection? In the mirror. Where else do you see your reflection? In water. Where else? Is there anywhere else? Glass would work. In someone else's eyes. Like, I don't know. I didn't know if you're going to get all sappy on me or not. Okay. Okay, Tilly, I've reached my cold point. You can turn it off now. Thank you. You're hot?
No, I'm just.
That's why I'm getting hot and cold, like all women having hot flashes. No, not yet. Okay, not yet. Okay, what do you think it says? A reflection is a flip of a figure in a line called the, and then there are 3 blanks. What are we going to call this line? Yeah, it's real original. The line is called the line of reflection. They've spent a lot of time on that. But I'm even lazier. Good grief, that's not a word. I'm even lazier, so I'm going to call that LOR, line of reflection, because I don't feel like spelling it out. Okay, so, of course, my examples are a lot nicer than yours. My examples, they tell you about some quadrilateral. They tell you the points, but my gosh, they've already plotted it for you. On yours, you have to plot it first yourself. So Tilly has to practice. Like, J goes at 2, 3, so she has to go over 2 of 3 to put J at its correct spot. My bad. Okay, they tell you that we have this quadrilateral. They tell you to graph it, and its image over x equals 1. So x equals 1 is our line of reflection. Now, I'm going to be highlighter crazy if you want to be colorful too. You don't have to be. Okay, so it's kind of hard to see in this picture, so I'm going to color in the coordinate plane just for fun. They tell you the line of reflection happens at x equals 1. They've already drawn that line for us nicely. Are they always going to draw the line of reflection for us? No, then what would we do? So x equals 1, the line of reflection, it looks like this. It's a straight up and down line. From here, figuring out this second image is going to be pretty easy. For instance, my line of reflection is in pink for those who can do colors. My line of reflection is in pink. I see that the point M is 1 to the left, so my new point M is 1 to the right. We call that new point, it looks like M with a tiny 1 up top. We call it M prime. But, I mean, we have to put something with it. We can't have 2 M's on the one paper. So I do M and then a little dash after, or 1. We call it M prime out loud. Okay, if I go to J, it was 1 to the right. So J prime would be 1 to the left of that pink line. K was 1, 2 to the right, so I need to go 1, 2 to the left. Let me say that again. I'm using this pink line, and I'm counting to K. I go over 1, 2. So my new K needs to be over to the left, 1, 2. I'm just counting today. And then L is 1 to the right, so L prime needs to be 1 to the left. Are there any questions of how I plotted my J prime, K prime, L prime, and N prime? Any problems with plotting the points? I need to connect the dots. And notice that my shape has stayed fundamentally the same. It was a quadrilateral. It didn't suddenly turn into a triangle or a square. JK was the shortest side. JK is still the shortest side over here. LM was really long. LM is still really long. It fundamentally stayed the same. All we did was reflect it over that pink line. Are there any questions about this? It tells you in the problem, so that's perfect. It's like you're reading my mind. On the next problem, where does it say the line of reflection is going to be? y equals negative 2. Now notice this says y equals negative 2, not x equals negative 2. So that is going to change some things. And sadly, this one's not as easy because they didn't plot the points for us. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my coordinate plane. And then plot the points. So J is 2, 3. So I've got to go over 2, up 1, 2, 3. There's J. Sadly, this is as far as I can zoom in. So if you need to get closer, I totally understand. K is at 3, 2. So over 1, 2, 3, up 1, 2. There's K. L is at 2, negative 1, so there's L. And then M is at 0, 1, so there's M. Again, I apologize, this is super duper tiny. On the test on Friday, it would never be this tiny for you. I need to connect the dots and make my quadrilateral. Is everyone good on plotting those 4 points and connecting the dots? I know it's really tiny for you to see mine, but is there anyone who needs help with that? Okay, well it says the line of reflection is y equals negative 2. If y is negative 2, that happens down here. So my pink line, my line of reflection, is actually a horizontal line. And if you want to like write it in and explain that's the line of reflection, y equals negative 2, you sure can. Do you have to do all that? No. Okay, so I'm still going to use a counting trick. On the first example, I counted like how many to the left or to the right of my pink line. Right now, I'm going to do how many up or how many down from my pink line. So L, for instance, is 1 above, so I need to go 1 below for L prime. M was 1, 2, 3 above, so I need to go 1, 2, 3 below the pink line for M prime. J was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I've got to go 5 below for J prime. So I'm still going to use that exact same counting method. I should have been marking my points as I said that. Up 1, down 1, L prime. Up 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Down J prime. 1, 2, 3. So mine's tiny and hard to see, and for that, again, I apologize. But I use the exact same counting trick, like 1 up, so L prime's 1 down, to plot my 4 new points. Ugh. Are there any questions about the first 2 examples? Okay, where does it say the line of reflection is in our third example? It says it's the x-axis. So I'm going to zoom out 1. It says the line of reflection is the x-axis. Okay, so I'm literally going to highlight the x-axis. That is my pink line. That is my line of reflection. I can still use my same technique. A was 1 up, so A prime's 1 below. B was 1, 2 up, so B prime is 1, 2 below. C prime was 1 below, so C prime's 1 up. D prime was 1, 2, 3 below, so I gotta go 1, 2, 3 above. Are there any questions on how I got my 4 new points? I connect my dots. And this one's super annoying because our reflected image is on top of our original image. It would have been a lot nicer if they had done like here, like a tiny cute little triangle, And then it was 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 below. That would have been a lot nicer. That's a lot easier to see. But no, they had it flip over itself on top of itself. So it's a little difficult to see. Let me see if I can zoom in for a second. Any further. I should be. Good. Okay, so my counting trick still works. This is still the right answer. But if you're trying to be fancy and you want to understand a little more math, when it's reflected over the x-axis, we're really multiplying the y-coordinate by -1. So a prime would be 1, -1. B prime would be 3, -2. C prime would be 4, +1. And D prime would be 2, +3. What we're doing when we reflect over the x-axis is we're really changing all the y signals, all the y signs. If they were positive, now they're negative. They were negative, now they're positive. Are there any questions on example 4A? What's the line of reflection in example 4B? So again, it's an active. Sounds really nice. Even nicer, they've already graphed it for us. Okay, so let me write that. So if Grant doesn't matter, I'll pick on him. If Grant likes my counting technique, it can still work. So A's here, A prime would be 1 to the right. B's here. So B prime is 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. B prime. C prime is 1, 2, 3, 4 over. So I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4 over. D prime's 2 over, so I need to go 2 over.
Miss Compton?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, did Matthew Jones make it in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So am I really going to be this picky? And I'm going to count off a ton if Grant doesn't have that C prime exactly in that exact spot. Probably won't catch him do that. I would catch him if his shape suddenly changed to a triangle. That I know. What's going to happen, though, is the test on Friday is thankfully, well, I say thankfully, and it always bites you in the tail, is mostly multiple choice. There are a couple where you have to draw your own, but they're mostly multiple choice. But saying that means Grant has to spot the difference. Because multiple choice, these all look really similar. He has to pay attention to, oh, no, their C prime is off on B. C prime's right on A. Like, it seems a little harder to me. So you've got to know what you're doing. In the same way that on the previous example, I said really what we were doing was changing the y-coordinate. So it was 1, then -1, 2, then -2. We're doing the same thing when we reflect over the y-axis. We're changing the x-coordinate. So can you tell me the coordinates for A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime, please? And B?
-3,
C?
-4, -1,
D?
-3.
So that handy little trick is always going to work. If you're reflecting over the x or y axis, you change the sign of the opposite thing. Reflect over the x, change the y's. Reflect over the y's, change the x. So if Grant would rather just figure that out and plot those points instead of doing my counting thing, he sure can. And he's about to find out that my counting technique fails. It has limits. Okay, so I need you to help me. This is where we got stuck for a long time first period, but you're not going to get stuck here. What is the line of reflection on example 5? What is the line of reflection on example 5? Okay, and then it says the line y equals x is the line of reflection. Agreed. What does that look like? What does y equals x look like? You passed algebra. You made it to me. You already... Bless you. Bless you. Thank you. Okay, I've got one who knows. Anyone else know? Yeah. Savvy, show me with your arm. Thank you. Okay, so far we've done examples like this, where we just counted up or down, above, whatever the pink line was. And we've done ones like this, where we counted to left or right. we have a diagonal now. We have y equals x, and that's a diagonal. So, of course they had to make it a little harder. It goes through 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, if you're trying to be picky with it, which you definitely can. I'm with you. That is my line of reflection. Now, you say, Ms. Compton, you can't count this? Not really. Because how do I decide B is here? So it was 1 to the, so I go 1 to the, do I just go 1 to the left? Would that work? Is that really reflecting over that pink line? I don't think so. So that's our whole strategy is not going to work. There is one point that's going to stay the same, though. Do you know what point stays the same?
A.
Why is that?
It's on
It's already on the line, so there's nothing to change with it. It's on the line. So A prime and A are in the same class. At least you knew that much. Okay, so it tells you what to do on your paper. Someone read it. What did it say you're supposed to do? It used a big word. Interchange, which is the same thing as swap. So we're just going to swap, in case you didn't know that, the x and y coordinates. So, hey, if we swap A, it would still be 1, 1. But if we swap B, it becomes what? 2, 3, and what's C? And D? D. That's B prime, A prime, C prime, D prime. So negative 3, 2. That's the easiest way to do this one. So if you see y equals x, you just swap the coordinates. So I need to plot those points. So A stays the same. That's still A prime as well. B is at 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, up 1, 2, 3. C prime is at negative 1, 4. D prime is at negative 3, 2. I connect my dots. Okay, so it looked like a smushed kite before. Still looks like a smushed kite now. So my shape stayed the same. And it really does look like it reflected over that pink diagonal line. The moral of that story is, the hardest ones are when they say y equals x. So when I hand you your worksheet, that's the ones we're going to go ahead and look at first, so you know I just swapped the x and y coordinates. Am I going to point that out to you on the test on Friday? No. Okay, let me go ahead and hand it to you, and let's look at it really fast, because there are quite a few problems. This is quite easy. It is good to see you. I did miss you too, I guess. Okay, so I'm joking. I did miss you too. I just would love to still be at home. Let's look at the first 4. They're as easy as they look. Seriously, draw that shape reflected over that line. Now, it helps if Toby labels it. That way I know he understands, for instance, that D and D prime are the same point. Am I going to count off if Toby doesn't draw the perfect diamond? No. Look at mine. It's not pretty. So the first 4 are easy. Draw the shape reflected over whatever the axis is. 5 through 8 are the hardest ones on the paper, because you actually have to plot the points first, then figure out the line of reflection, then draw the new guy, the reflected image. So 5 through 8, hardest ones of the day by far. In fact, the hardest one is for sure number 7, because the line of reflection is y equals x. So I'd make myself a note to look at the last example. Okay, and then if you flip to the back, those are nice. On the back, they're already drawn for you. You just have to figure out the line of reflection and draw the new guy. Number 3 is bonus, because we've swapped that line of reflection. The diagonal was like this, now the diagonal's changed. So number 3 is a bonus. Number 6 is the other hard guy, because the reflection is across y equals x, but again, that's the last example. And if you made these notes to yourself, you'll know to look back at your notes. This is not due tomorrow. But the sooner you get this done, the sooner we can look at the key and make sure you know what you're doing before the test on Friday. Are there any questions about this? I'm going to be a dear sweetheart and not type in zeros until some point mid next week on chapter 9. I know what's got